I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like Toby, keep on running toes, they gon' take a few to lose. Built the win, applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win. Applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back with another episode. And today, we are going to be picking games from this huge slate today. Now, unfortunately, my Monday, Tuesday didn't go so well. I mean, I got the upset right with Stephen F. Austin beating McNeese at home. They were 3.5-point dogs. They picked them to win outright. I did get that right. But unfortunately, SMU did lose as I believe home dogs to NC State. They Trey Holloman got a block at the end of the game to save the game for NC State after NC State went on a crazy run and then SMU matched it. Did lose Indiana as road dogs to USC. Just Indiana was cold from 3 on the road against USC, and Elijah Arenas had a crazy game, 29 points. So shout out to him for that. And the last game I lost, unfortunately, was I forgot. It was a Monday game. Was it BYU involved? I don't think so. Hold on, let me look real quick because it should be right here in my notes. It was Kansas, Texas Tech. Yeah, Christian Anderson was a late game scratch because of an illness. Came out like he could play in the second half, however. Then Darren Peterson played the majority of the second half. He hit 2 big 3-point bombs late in the game to put Kansas up 3. Texas Tech just could not take the lead late game after Kansas's Darren Peterson hit those 2 threes, and that was an unfortunate loss for Texas Tech. But we're still 15-7 on the year, starting last week. So hopefully this big slate Saturday can give us a bigger lead. And let's hop into this big slate Saturday. And we're going to start with a noon game, our only noon game. And we got Wisconsin at Indiana. Now, Wisconsin is coming to this one as 3.5-point dogs. Indiana, like I said, coming off the loss to USC. Wisconsin didn't play anyone so far this week, as I don't recall. I think that last game was Ohio State. Now, Indiana is 3.5-point home favorites in this matchup. This game is noon on Fox. For Wisconsin, they're led by John Blackwell. John Blackwell's averaging 18.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 1.3 steals per game. Nick Boyd averaging 20 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. And Nolan Winter averaging 13.8 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, and 1.2 blocks per game. Now, the X factor in this one for me, for Wisconsin, is going to be Braden Carrington and his three-point shooting ability because he's going against Indiana. Indiana is a really good three-point shooting team. So he's going to have to knock down some threes off the bench to counteract that. He's shooting 41.6% from the three-point line, and he's averaging 7 points per game off the bench. So I think he's going to be really key for Wisconsin to when they have to go to their bench to either maintain the lead or stay within range. Now for Indiana, they're led by Lamar Wilkinson. Lamar Wilkinson is averaging 20.2 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Tucker DeVries averaging 13.7 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and 1.2 steals. And Nick Dorn averaging 9.5 points per game. Now, the X factor to me for Indiana is going to be Reed Bailey. Reed Bailey, he's going to be big in guarding those big men who can shoot around the perimeter, and they can play down low. So he's going to be huge in this one for Indiana. but I'm ultimately going Wisconsin on the road as an upset. Now, I know it's tough to beat Indiana and Bloomington. I do know that. But I just feel like Wisconsin's front court presence, excuse me, is a bit too much for the Indiana Hoosiers, which is why Wisconsin, I believe, is the only team to beat Michigan because of that front court presence. It can match up with most front courts in the country. Then they have two guards that can really go in John Blackwell and Nick Boyd. So you pair that front court with two guards who can get you big buckets, especially John Blackwell, who gets you big and clutch buckets. I'm going to take Wisconsin in this one. I think that front court could kind of counteract some of the three-point shooting that Indiana has to make, first of all. Because like we saw in the USC game, you can go cold from three. Now, they are going to be at home, so you could get some home cooking there. But I just think that front court with Wisconsin is just going to be a bit much. So I'm taking Wisconsin as 3.5-point dogs to win outright on the road in Bloomington. Next, we got the Iron Bowl in basketball. I promise you, I was not going to talk about Alabama this week. The only reason I'm talking about Alabama is because of this huge rivalry in the Iron Bowl. Speaking of Alabama, LeBaron Philon, who is the leader of this team, is questionable. He's a game-time decision with a groin injury. Also, Keyshawn Hall had a finger injury, and Stephen Pearl said that he was thankful they had a bye week because he had some stitches in his shooting hand that they didn't report. So I think he's also questionable, but I think he will play. Again, game-time decision for LeBaron Philon, but this matchup, this big rivalry, I think he's playing. And speaking of, he leads Bama, averaging 21.4 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 4.9 assists, and 1.3 steals per game. Aiden Holloway averaging 17.2 points per game and 3.8 assists. Amari Allen averaging 11.4 points per game, 7.5 rebounds per game, and 3.5 assists. The X factor to me for Alabama is going to be Houston Millett and his three-point shooting because, man, as much as I like Nate Oates, and I've been rooting for Alabama since Nate Oates got there this year, Alabama just don't play defense. They're in shootouts every game. So Millett's three-point shooting is going to be big for Alabama against Auburn on the road. Speaking of Auburn, they're led by Keyshawn Hall, averaging 20.9 points per game and 7.2 rebounds. Tahai Pettiford averaging 13.3 points and 3.3 assists and 1 steal per game. And Kevin Overton averaging 12.4 points per game, 3.2 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Keyshawn Murphy getting Bama off the glass and his scoring. Because, again, Bama is always in shootouts, and he's averaging 10.3 points per game. Keyshawn Murphy and Keyshawn Hall, two bigs for Auburn. They're going to be big in trying to limit second chances for the Bama, for Roll Tide, Alabama. They're going to be huge in trying to limit those. And they're going to be huge in scoring, obviously, with Keyshawn Hall averaging 20 points. But my winner, I'm going to go with the team that plays defense better, and I'm going with Auburn. Again, Alabama's always in shootouts. Auburn's the better defensive team. And Auburn can score, too. Auburn got guys that can go like Tahai Pettiford and Keyshawn Hall. So I'm going to roll with Auburn in this one at home in a big rivalry game. It's 3.5-point favorites to win this ball game. Again, I just don't like the defense for Alabama. Even with the win against Texas A&M, it was a shootout. The final score was 100-97. So I'm going to just roll with Auburn here. Bama defense is just not good. And it's going to be their Achilles heel come tourney time. Next, speaking of rivalries, we got a top 15 matchup. We got 4th-ranked Duke taking on 14th-ranked North Carolina in Chapel Hill, 6:30 on ESPN. Duke is 5.5-point road favorites in this matchup. They're led by one of the best freshmen in the country, Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer is averaging 23.3 points per game, 9.9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.9 steals per game. Isaiah Evans averaging 14.2 points per game, 3.1 rebounds, and Caleb Foster averaging 8.7 points per game, 3.6 rebounds per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Patrick Nwamba because North Carolina, they're led by their front court this year. So him, Cam Boozer, Malik Brown, they're all going to be tested in the front court. They're going to be big. They can't afford to be in foul trouble. So I think Patrick Nwamba staying out of foul trouble, collecting boards and blocking shots, averaging 1.3 blocks per game is going to be big for Duke. Now, for North Carolina, they're led by another one of the best freshmen in the country, and Caleb Wilson, who I think, man, I love Caleb Wilson's game a ton. He's averaging 20 points per game, 9.8 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 1.3 blocks per game. Then you got Henry Vazar coming over from Arizona. He's averaging 16.8 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game. And Seth Trimble averaging 14.1 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Now, like I said, North Carolina is led by their front court, but I do think Derek Dixon is going to be an X factor in this one with his ability to run the offense and score some points. Now, his role has been increased, in my opinion, over the last couple games. He's averaging 5.8 points per game and 2.4 assists. His ability to run the team is going to be big in this one. But ultimately, I'm going Duke. I'm sorry, Tar Heel Nation. I am going Duke to take this one. I do think that it's going to be tough for Duke to win. I think it's going to be a gritty game. I think the game is going to be ugly. It's going to be Duke, North Carolina. I think the rivalry will be reborn with this one. But I just think Cam Boozer and those guys are just a bit much. I think Cam Boozer could put a lot of pressure on North Carolina's front court. Same with Caleb Wilson, but then I look at the guard play for Duke, and I just think the guard play at Duke is better than the guard play at North Carolina. No offense to North Carolina guards, because I do like Seth Trimble. Casey Evans is a shooter, which, I mean, they got him to be a point, which I was kind of a little bit confused with. He's like a shooter to me, but Derek Dixon, if he can run it, that'd be good. But I look at Duke's guards, Caleb Foster, Isaiah Evans, Caden Boozer off the bench. I like that guard play better than I like North Carolina's guard play. The front court, they can battle it out. I dag on there when I say it's kind of even. So I'm going to take Duke in this matchup because of the guard play over North Carolina. And we're going to stick with the ACC, but we're going to go out west with the ACC. Clemson, after escaping Stanford, takes on Cal, 8 o'clock on ACC Network. Now, Cal is also another good ACC team this year. Clemson's a really good ACC team as well. They're 4.5-point road favorites, and this one is, like I said, this game 8 o'clock on the ACC Network. And Clemson is led by Dylan Hunter, averaging 8.4 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and 1 steal. Carter Wheeling averaging 10 points per game, 5.9 rebounds, and Justin Porter averaging 10.7 points per game and 1.3 steals per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Nick Davidson. He's averaging 9.5 points per game and 4.2 rebounds. His scoring is going to be big in this one, in my opinion. And he does have the ability. I'm going to just stick with his scoring. His scoring is going to be key in this one. Now, Cal, they're led by Dede Ames, averaging 17 points per game, 17.2 points. Justin Pippen, averaging 15 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and 1.8 steals. And John Camden, averaging 14.3 points per game, 42.6% from the three-point line. And their X factor to me is going to be Chris Bell, who's scoring 13 points per game, putting more pressure on that front court. But ultimately, I'm going Clemson. Clemson got a great rotation of bigs with RJ Godfrey, Nick Davidson, Carter Wheeling. I like their guard play with Dylan Hunter and Justin Porter. I think they can go with the Cal guards of Dede Ames and Justin Pippen. I think they can go with those two. And I think the front court is going to be the big factor in this one for Clemson. So I'm going to take Clemson on the road to get the job done at Cal because of the front court. Next, it's a big matchup, man. Big time matchup in the Big Ten. We got 5th ranked Illinois taking on 10th ranked Michigan State, which that will change since the loss to Minnesota. But the game is at 8 o'clock on Fox. Now, Illinois comes into this one as 1.5-point road favorites. The line switched. Michigan State last night was 1.5-point home favorites. But like I said, the line switched. Devine Ukachukwu is out for the rest of the year due to a foot injury. So that's a big blow in terms of the depth for the Spartans. Meanwhile, Kylan Boswell is still out. So that's a big blow. I mean, that was already a blow for Illinois. But in the absence of Boswell, Keaton Wagler has stepped up tremendously, and that is the leader of the Illini. Keaton Wagler averaging 17.9 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 4.3 assists. Andre Stojakovic, who's averaging 13.5 points per game and 4.5 rebounds, and David Markovic, averaging 12.3 points per game and 8.2 boards. Now, my X factor for Illinois is actually going to be Zonomir Ivicic, averaging 5.1 rebounds and 2.3 blocks per game. His paint protection and his rebound is going to be big going against guys like Carson Cooper, Jackson Kolar, possibly Jesse McCullough, Cam Ward. With the rotation of bigs that MSU has, paint protection is going to be key for Illinois. Speaking of Michigan State, they are led by Jeremy Fears, who is under some trouble. He is in some hot water of late. I can't defend the antics that he's been doing, especially the behind the back nut kick. I can't defend that. Can't defend that. The trippings, I can't defend that. Jeremy's gonna have to cut that out. And Izzo has publicly, he said it publicly, like, you got to cut it out or you will get benched. And I think he received the message loud and clear. Got to cut them antics out. But he's averaging 14.7 points per game, 8.9 assists, and 1.3 steals. Jackson Kolar, man, he made his name last year against Illinois. He's averaging 12.9 points per game, 9.1 rebounds a game. And Cohen Carr averaging 11.6 points per game and 5.3 rebounds per game. Now, the X factor for me for MSU is going to be Carson Cooper. Again, going against these bigs in Illinois, his paint protection, his blocking, things like that is going to be big. He's averaging a blocking game of 7.2 rebounds per game. He's going to be big. We need Carson Cooper to step up. When Carson Cooper gives us a ton, we normally do well. Last week against Minnesota, wasn't really giving us much. We lost. Against Michigan, wasn't giving us much. We lost. If Carson Cooper is giving us a ton in the paint, and that's not necessarily scoring. I mean, yeah, a couple oops, stuff like that helps. But just rebounding, playing hard, blocking shots, it goes well for MSU. So Carson Cooper is going to be the X factor in this one. And I got to go with my boys, this 1.5 point home dogs. Why? Because it is tough to win in the Brads. We saw Michigan have a 16-point lead at halftime, and Michigan State was able to take the lead up to with like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. Now, Michigan ultimately won the game. But I don't believe if we were at the Braves, if we was at the Chrysler Center down 16 at the half, I don't think we would have came back and took the lead at all in the second half. So that just shows how tough it is to win in the Breslin Center. And I think that we get it done at the Braves and we win this ball game. A much-needed win, by the way, because Illinois has been hot. They've been knocking down some teams. And Michigan State, the last 3 games have not been great, even though we lost 2 of the last 3. Rutgers, to me, should have been a loss as well. So I think we turn it around here with some home cooking and we get the job done against Illinois. And we move on to Florida. 17th ranked Florida taking on Texas A&M. This is a battle of first place in the SEC. I believe both teams are 6-2 in the SEC. I'm going to double check that real quick. But I want to say they're both 6-2. I know they both had 2 losses. Excuse me. They're both 7-2. In the SEC. So this is a battle for first place, like I said. Now, Florida, they got another big rotation. They're led by Alex Condon, who's averaging 13.8 points per game, 8.1 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.5 blocks. Thomas Houck averaging 17.6 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, and 1 steal per game. And Ruben Chenelu averaging 12.1 points per game, 11.3 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks per game. Mind you, Florida is 6.5-point road favorites in this matchup. The X factor to me is going to be Xavier Lee. When Xavier Lee is hitting from 3-point, when he's scoring, when his shot is on, and he's facilitating, Florida's tough to beat. When him and Boogie Flan are balling, Florida is tough to beat. Now, I went Xavier Lee this time just because of the outside shooting, things of that nature. But it could have been either one of those guys. But he's averaging 10.7 points per game and 3.4 assists per game this year for Florida. Shout out Arizona, man. I'm not going to talk about Arizona today because I do like Oklahoma State with the upset. Not today, but when they beat BYU, I did like that. I didn't talk about it because there wasn't enough games to talk about, but I was kind of on that. But I don't think Oklahoma State upsets Arizona today, so I'm not going to really talk about it. Because Arizona should handle business. But shout out Arizona, man. Number 1. Shout out Coach Tommy Lloyd. Great job he's doing this year. One of the last 2 undefeated teams. And I'm trying so hard not to fall for Arizona like I do for most of the year, most times. Now, the last couple years, I did a good job not falling for him. But, man, college me, when Nick Johnson and T.J. McConnell and Aaron Gordon and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson and all of them was Arizona, I just knew they was about to win it. I will not fall for Arizona. But back to the topic at hand. We're talking about Texas A&M, led by Rashawn Agee, averaging 14.2 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, and 1 steal. Ruben Dominguez averaging 12.4 points per game, and Ryland Griffin averaging 11.5 points per game, 1.7 steals per game. I put as an X factor, and this he might not be an X factor for real, but he may need to be used more today, is Zach Clements, because he's going against all those Florida bigs. He's going to have to receive more minutes, if not as a body, because of the bigs that Florida has. So that's why I have him as an X factor. But my winner is Florida. Why? Because of their front court. The front court, I think they're just going to dominate Texas A&M on the inside, and they have guards that can, run their shooters off the line and things like that. But I think Texas A&M, for them to have a chance today, they got to get super hot from three, which Florida can, score from the three as well. So I just got Florida, man. I just think they're too dominant inside for this Texas A&M Aggie team. And we're going to move on to Tennessee versus Kentucky. Now, this is a rematch. Last time they played, I want to say Kentucky came back and won in Rocky Top by 2 points. Tennessee is now 1.5-point road dogs in this matchup. Actually, Kentucky needs this win to keep pace. They're a half game behind the SEC for first place. And you would not think that the way Kentucky fans talk about Kentucky. And I mean, rightfully so at the time, but they're 7-3 in conference, 16-7 overall. And like I said, they're a half a game out of first place. So for all the talk that Mark Few and the program got, they're literally right there for being for being SEC champs before the tournament. Now, do I think they win the SEC? No, I think Florida was going to win it the whole time. But I say that to say they are literally right there. So Kentucky fans, cool your jets. But anyway, we got Tennessee, 25th in the country. They're led by Jacoby Gillespie. Jacoby Gillespie is averaging 15.6 points per game, 5.4 assists, and 1.6 steals. Nate Amon averaging 17.1 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. And I put JP Estrella only because Felix Arpara, I don't know if he's playing. It doesn't seem like he may be playing. I think he's a game time decision right now. But I put JP Estrella just because I really don't have a feel for whether Felix Arpara is playing tonight or not. But he's averaging 9.2 points per game and 4.8 rebounds. And the X factor I have is Jalen Carey. Why? Because if Felix Arpara doesn't play, he's going to have to step up against these bigs, Malachi Marino and Brandon Garrison and stuff like that. His play is going to have to elevate for Tennessee to have a chance. Now, Kentucky, they're led by Otega Owe, who's averaging 17 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, and 1.8 steals. Denzel Aberdeen averaging 12.1 points per game, 3.2 assists, and Malachi Marino averaging 8.3 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks per game. And my X factor for Kentucky is going to be Brandon Garrison with the paint depth, and especially with no Felix Arpara if he does not play. I think Brandon Garrison giving you good minutes off the bench would be big with no Arpara. But with that being said, I'm taking Rocky Top to get revenge in Rupp Arena. Give me the Volunteers to beat Kentucky as road dogs. I just won. Like I said, they got revenge on their mind. They shouldn't have lost that game at Rocky Top. That's there. That's one. Two, I think Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Amon are due for big games against Kentucky. Kentucky got guards that can go, like Otega Owe. He can get to the basket, get to the free throw line. Denzel Aberdeen, he's a tough defending guard. I think that is going to be big. But like I said, I just think Tennessee got revenge on their mind. They shouldn't have lost that Rocky Top. Rick Barnes is going to have them boys ready to go. So give me Rocky Top to upset Kentucky, and gambling upset because Kentucky's not ranked, but gambling upset as an underdog to win. And the final game I have for y'all, 8th ranked Houston at 16th ranked BYU, which will change because they did lose to Oklahoma State on the road. 10:30 on ESPN. Houston's actually 1.5-point road favorites in this matchup at Provo. BYU is coming into this one losing 3 straight. They lost to Kansas, Oklahoma State, and Arizona. So they're looking for a bounce back here. But Houston's not a team you want to bounce back against. Houston, led by Emmanuel Sharp, averaging 15.9 points per game and 1.2 steals. Another phenomenal freshman in Kingston Flemings, averaging 17 points per game, 3.4 rebounds, and 5.5 assists, and 1.8 steals. And Milos Uzan, averaging 11.75 points per game, 3.9 assists, and 1 steal per game. Now, Houston's X factor to me is going to be Joseph Tugler. And keeping Keba Keita off them offensive boards. Tugler's averaging 5.6 rebounds per game and 1.5 blocks, which I know how I feel about Keba Keita and his activity around the rim. I love Keba Keita's game. Speaking of BYU, they're led by AJ DeBanster, averaging 23.9 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1 point steals. One of the best freshmen in the country as well. Rob Wright, averaging 17.4 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and 1.2 steals. And Keba Keita, averaging 6.9 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, 1.1 steals, and 1.9 blocks per game. Now, my X factor in this one's going to be Richie Sanders because of his scoring and his three-point shooting. He's averaging 19.5 points per game, shooting 39.6% from the three. It's going to be big because when Houston locks in defensively, you need a guy who can possibly bail you out or give you buckets. And AJ is one of those guys, but Richie Sanders is going to have to be another one of those guys where if Rob Wright's penetrating, kicking to Richie Sanders, he has to knock down the three when it's open to him. So I got him as my X factor. But my winner, I'm going Houston, man. BYU, as good of a team they are on a slump right now. Anthony Roy, oh my God, had a day against BYU. They just could not, when they took the lead, run off with the lead. Oklahoma State then would run off again. Oklahoma State basically had an answer for every BYU answer. And like I said, man, they're in a 3-game slump, and you don't want to slump against this Houston team led by Kelvin Sampson. They're always really good defensively and offensively. They're a top team in both categories every year. And I think Houston is just going to come out and just, I don't want to say dominate, but they're going to do what they do. They're going to be coached well, and they're going to get this W in Provo. Plus, Houston doesn't really lose too many Big 12 games. They really don't. I think the only 2 Big 12 losses recently is Texas Tech. Like, they don't lose that many Big 12 games. So BYU is going to have to come out and really play well to upset this Houston team. So give me Houston to win this game. And that is all the games I have for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoy this Saturday slate because it's a big slate. It's a fun one as always. Y'all enjoy the Super Bowl too, man. Well, I'll be back tomorrow to wrap up this week in college basketball tomorrow. Then, enjoy the Super Bowl and all that. But, man, what a game last night, UConn, St. John's. I did pick UConn. Didn't go to the pick'em because my shorts don't go to my pick'ems. I've had wins that didn't go to my pick'em for that before y'all say anything. But, yeah. Great game. St. John, second half, took a big lead. UConn came roaring back, but just could not take the lead. Missed 2 front ends of a 1-and-1. Missed a front end of a 1-and-1 and one. He might have missed another front end and a 1-and-1 too, but just missing free throws down the stretch. One inbounds play, he threw it right to St. John's. It was just down the stretch. UConn was making terrible mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, they had a ton of turnovers in that ball game as well. Shout out to St. John pressure for that. They were running a lot of full court pressure against UConn. It was struggling. It was a time where UConn was struggling to inbound the ball. So just shout out to Rick Pitino and St. John's for winning that game and being one step closer to winning the Big East championship. Now, they will play against each other in UConn later down the road. I'm excited for that matchup, but got to salute St. John for that win. And with that being said, got to do some house cleaning. So, like I said, this is a network. So we do have multiple shows. We have the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave on Mondays and Thursdays, 7 to about 8:30ish. Then we have Unfazed. I believe Unfazed is going live today at 9:45 at night. So tune into that. It should be fun. Should be a Super Bowl show. Next, we have BWT Baseball with Teddy. The World Baseball Classic rosters are finalized. He should be going live soon to discuss those, possibly picking who we think is going to win the World Baseball Classic. So just make sure y'all tune into that. And shout out Tarek Schoolball, won arbitration. He's getting paid $32 million this year. He deserves it. Well deserved, because that Fernber Valdez signing really pissed me off because that money should have went to Schoolball. But I digress. Next, we got FFC Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Fantasy football season is obviously over, but just stay tuned to see whatever content he provides y'all next. RBO, Real Ballers Only. Shout out my Pistons, man. Won by 38 last night against the Knicks. But make sure y'all tune in to RBO for, topics, things like that. We have In the Red Corner boxing episode. They went live last Sunday discussing the fights. That's featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo. So make sure y'all check that out and check out Dave's Doghouse highlights and lowlights of sport. And please like, comment, share, subscribe to their channels as well as mine. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. But I'll be back tomorrow to wrap up this week in college basketball. But until then, I'm gone. Y'all enjoy y'all Saturdays. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button, no matter what you're listening to or watching it. hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.